Okay, guys, and we are officially recording. Welcome, everybody. Hello and welcome, welcome. Welcome to Pennsylvania. We've got the fireplace roaring for you. I'm so excited to take you through my hour-long stretch and recovery session. Okay, boo-boo, come on, move your booty. He loves to sit right here, right by the fire. So welcome, welcome. I am Holly Perkins, if we haven't met before. So glad that you are here. I'm going to take you through about an hour-long session that is stretching, mobility, and recovery focused. All you need is a comfortable space. Bare feet work best, but if you'd like to wear shoes, that's totally okay. I'm going to be taking you through a series of different kinds of stretches. So the first thing I want to share with you tonight is something interesting a lot of people miss the boat on. There are a lot of different kinds of stretching. There's static stretching, there's dynamic stretching, there's something called PNF, proprio neuromuscular facilitation, and there's another kind of stretching that I learned years ago that isn't talked about a whole lot, which is called active isolated stretching, which actually works with the apparatus and the organs in your muscles to really facilitate better flexibility. So what you're going to get out of this session, you're going to feel amazing. I hope that you will remember and learn some of the key stretches so that you can take them with you. All of these stretches are so great to be doing every single day. You can use them for recovery. You can use them for enhanced flexibility, and you can use them after workouts. One note, the type of stretching that I'm going to be taking you through here tonight is not intended to be done before a workout. What we're doing tonight is deeper stretching. We're facilitating your flexibility and your mobility. And something interesting happens on your muscle when you take it through extended stretching and then you try to go into a workout where your muscles have to generate force. You actually reduce the force production of your muscles. So everything you learn in this session today is not to be used before a workout, but you can certainly use it after a workout and on the times in between your workouts. So this is definitely to help improve your flexibility and your recovery and open up some of those tight joints. We're going to be going through pretty much the full body. I'm going to take you through some back stretches, hips, glutes, hamstrings, quads, a little bit of feet, a little bit of shoulders, a little bit of mid-back. We're going to hit everything and you're going to feel amazing. So let's get started. If you're not already down on the ground, join me on a comfortable space. Hopefully you've got a mat. You don't need anything. If you've got a yoga strap or a belt or a rope of some kind that you want to use, you can, but I've designed this workout to really work for everybody regardless of your ability. So we're going to start on our back. Go ahead and lay back, and I want you to take your arms up over your head, reach way up out of your head, and for a moment, I want you to just lengthen out as much as you possibly can. Simultaneously, I want you to allow your lower back to develop a little bit of a curvature and avoid flattening your back to the ground. Allow your natural curvature so that your pelvis tucks forward slightly, and I want you to actively lengthen out, taking a deep inhale. Exhale it out. And again, 2 more just like that. I want you to take a deep inhale, lengthen it out, exhale and release. And one more time, big inhale up, lengthen, 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 and exhale it out. Follow along with me. You're going to keep your arms up over your head, and I want you to take both of your knees over to your side so that your knees are basically on top of each other. Starting with your top leg, you're going to open up, placing your foot on the floor until your flexibility is naturally balanced here. And that second leg is going to follow over and you're going to topple to the other side in a spinal twist. And we're going to do that back and forth. So let your flexibility pull your leg into the twist. One leg leads, the other leg follows, and you come into this twist. So we're just going to go back and forth here quite a few times. I want you to go at your own speed. If you want to go a little bit faster, you can. I'm going to be taking you through some active range of motion exercises and stretches that aren't just static stretching. This really is going to be, as I said, recovery mobility and flexibility, and we're going to be using a variety of stretch methods. So this exercise I do almost every single day, and it's really great because what it does is it balances out the relationship of your pelvis to your spine, and it helps to open up through the hips. So just make sure that you're really letting your flexibility here pull that leg into the twisted position so that you get a very natural and relaxed stretch through your inner thighs here. Keeping your feet on the ground when you're here, and then you can just bring feet on top of each other to really exaggerate your stretch. So let's take it a little bit deeper. When the knees are on top of each other here, I want you to press down with your top knee. Press down with your top knee to take you into even more of a spinal twist right there. Top knee presses downward to really rotate your pelvis, giving you even more of a stretch in your lower back, especially where that pelvis articulates with your spine. Oh, it feels good, right? Oh, I do this exercise almost every single day because it just makes such a difference. Like I said, you can move faster or slower. And let's do one more. And now I want you to end with your knees to the side. So if your knees are to your right, I want you to take your left arm, bring it straight up out of your waist, and then start to make a big circle away from your body and then coming around your body. Opposite hand just stays in a T. So make a really big circle here, reaching way across your body, reaching way away from your body, reaching open and reaching down. Make that circle as big as you possibly can. Stretch out, stretch down, stretch across, and stretch up. Let's do 3 more here. Make the circle very big, bringing your arm all the way trailing along the floor here in that open position. And one more, another one of my absolute favorite range of motion exercises here. Ending in the center, both hands over your head, and just bring your feet to center, adjust your pelvis, knees to the other side, and then we're going to do the same exact thing on this side, reaching away from you, down, across, up, and out. Really make that circle as big as you possibly can. Opening up through the chest, opening up through the lower back, and also getting a little bit of a passive stretch through glute medius right here on that hip that's staying in a static position. Big reach, make it open. Take a couple deep breaths here. Open it out. Welcome everybody that's popping in late. So glad to have you here. And if you're watching this in recording, welcome. Big reach. Let's go one more time. And relax. Let's just come to center. Feet are on the floor, knees are bent. I want to introduce you to a concept in stretching that we're going to take throughout this workout. And this is called active isolated stretching. So what you're going to do is you're going to use this muscle here, which is your hip flexor, otherwise known as your iliopsoas. And what we're going to do, straighten your leg out. What you're going to do is you're going to use this muscle to pull your knee into your chest. That's going to activate the hip flexor muscle, the iliopsoas, okay? Go ahead and relax it out. Let's do that again. Pull your knee in and then press it out. We're going to do this a few times to activate that iliopsoas muscle, pressing out 2 more times, pulling in. And now I'm going to introduce you to something called AIS stretching, active isolated stretching. When you pull your knee in, you're going to use your hands to now deepen your stretch and relax it out. Do that again. Knee comes in, use your hand, deepen the stretch, and relax it out. And we're going to repeat. So what's happening here is we're working with something called the Golgi tendon organ inside of the muscle, okay? And what's happening is we're activating a muscle, we're creating pressure in the hip flexor muscle. And what that does is that tells the opposing muscle group, which is your glutes and your hamstrings, to relax. So by using your hands to deepen the stretch here, you're actually facilitating a better stretch because we are activating the opposite muscle group. So with AIS stretching, we're working with opposing muscle groups to get a great stretch. I'm going to show you in a moment how this applies to the hamstrings by activating the opposing muscle group, which is your quadriceps. So we're going to do a couple more here. You're going to notice that with each time you pull your knee in, you're able to go a little bit deeper, just letting that knee come out to your side. and then relax down. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So you'll notice, just pull the knee in a few times because we want to activate that hip flexor, okay? Just firing up the hip flexor, also activating the core and the quadricep a little bit, but we're activating these muscles. Chemically, what's happening is you are relaxing the opposing muscle groups, which are your glutes and your hamstrings. So now you're going to add your hands, and let's just take it a little bit deeper. You're going to notice at first that you're a little restricted. And then as we get through these repetitions here, that hip is going to open up more and more. If you're able to bring your knee all the way deep into your torso, you can just let it go off to the side so that it's heading towards your underarm on that side that you're pulling towards. And with each repetition, just deepen it a little bit more, really pulling that knee into your underarm. It should feel good. Now listen, this is not aggressive. It should feel good as you get into here. Don't overdo it. That's one of the most important things about stretching is you want to work with your body. No grimacing, no pain, no wincing, nothing that's too intense. You always want your stretching and your flexibility to feel good and to work with the body as you open up. Okay, let's do one more and relax. So we're going to take that same concept and we're going to change muscle groups. So we just did activating the hip flexors to stretch the glutes and the hamstrings. We're going to apply that same concept to your quads and your hamstrings. So what you're going to do is actually from here, stay in this position. If you were to contract your quadriceps, it's going to extend your leg out. That's what the quadriceps do, okay? So join me. I want you to just activate your quadriceps, extend your lower leg, and lock your knee. I want you to lock your knee here because that helps you to really activate this muscle, your quadricep. So really lock that knee. If you're able to, you can keep your foot flexed, but whatever position is comfortable for your foot, totally fine. Really lock the knee and activate that quadricep, okay? So now, because what we're doing here is we are activating one muscle group, we are automatically telling the opposing muscle group, the hamstring, to relax. I want you to take that leg to a slightly higher angle. If you have super tight hamstrings at this point, you might want to use a strap or a belt around your foot to assist. But from here, what we're going to do is we're going to deepen the stretch by using your hands to just pull your leg towards you slightly and relax it down again. So extend, lock the knee, pull the leg in, and relax. If your hamstrings are super tight and you're only coming to here, totally fine. The whole point of this exercise is to get that quadricep contracted, locking the knee, and then using your hands or a strap to just pull that leg in slightly. Even if it's just a centimeter, just pulling it in a little bit is going to deepen that stretch in the hamstring. This is one of the most productive hamstring stretches you could possibly do. A lot of times I will do it with a strap, depending on how tight my hamstrings are. But you're going to notice with each repetition that we continue, back of your leg is just going to continue to open up. And so eventually you're going to notice that you're a little bit deeper in that stretch. Work with your own flexibility, okay? The whole key is first you want to contract that quadricep, lock your knee, then bring the leg into a deeper stretch to really get that hamstring stretch on the back of the leg. Okay, let's do one more and then we're going to do the same exact thing on the other side. Starting first with just extension at a low angle, squeezing and locking the knee so that you're really activating that quadricep. Okay, shortening the muscle so that we activate what is called the Golgi tendon organ, GTO. We're shortening the muscle to activate that organelle in the muscle, and that's going to tell the hamstring to relax. So now just take it to a slightly higher angle. Even if you got tight hamstrings, you should be able to come to about this angle right here, about the same angle as your opposite thigh. And then let's just take it a little bit deeper, using your hand once you've extended to just pull it towards you and relax down. And again, lock, pull it towards you and relax. Lock, contract that quadricep, and then use your hands to add to that stretch, okay? This is active, isolated stretching. Not a lot of people talk about this. Some people actually call this PNF stretching, but I don't think that's technically accurate. PNF stretching is technically when you activate the same muscle group that you're stretching, which I Nah, I'm not going to show you any of those tonight. We're just going to focus on the active isolated, but really make sure that you're fully contracting that muscle, getting a locked knee when you come into this hamstring stretch. So very different than a static hamstring stretch, right? So different and a whole lot more productive. So if you've got tight hamstrings, this is one of the best ways you can really get into your hamstrings. Okay, let's do two more. Here's one more. And relax. Same concept. We're going to take it straight to the glutes. Take one leg straight down. So what you're going to do is just like we did on the first time, you're going to bring your knee in to activate that hip flexor that I mentioned. This time what you're going to do is you're going to use your hands to come across your body, okay, and relax it down. Pull the knee in and then come across your body. So what you're doing is you're pulling your knee towards the opposite shoulder without letting this hip lift too far off the ground, okay? So what's happening here is we're getting more into the glute. This is a really great glute stretch. Just make sure you're pulling in and then crossing over your body using your hands to deepen that glute stretch right there. Try your best to keep this hip close to the ground, but it will lift up a little teeny tiny bit. It really depends on your anatomy and how tight your glutes are and also how your hip functions. So if that hip comes up a little tiny bit, totally cool. But just make sure you're really crossing over and then counter pressing down on that hip to get into the glutes. Oh, you guys are going to feel so good after this. And let's do one more. And relax. Same thing on the other leg. So pull that knee in, stretch it out. Pull it in, come across the body and relax it out. Pull it in and come across. So you're just pulling your knee towards the opposite shoulder. If you are working and active with your left leg right now, you're pulling that left knee towards your right shoulder or vice versa, okay? Whichever leg is moving, the knee is going towards the opposite shoulder and you're using your hands to just come across your body. Hands can be on the lower leg. You can be down towards your ankle. Hands can be on both knees. Again, it really depends on how your hips move and how tight your external rotation is on the hip here. On this leg, I have to reach down towards my ankle, but on my other leg, I'm able to do it from my knee. Really pulling that knee over towards the shoulder. And let's do two more. One more. And relax, knees to chest. And for a moment, let's just hug them deeply in. Just a nice little static stretch here, rolling side to side. Let me tell you a little bit about static stretching. Static stretching is when you come into a position like this and you hold it and you try to deepen the stretch. Something that's really important on static stretching is that while you're holding a stretch, it should mellow out. It should feel good. It should feel great. If you're holding a static stretch and the stretch intensifies or gets uncomfortable or you're grimacing or wincing, it's too much of a stretch and you're just going to release out a little bit. Stretches should always mellow the longer you hold them in time, okay? And from here, I want you to just roll onto your side and you're going to come up into a staggered leg position. So arch of this foot is towards the knee. This foot is in a flexed position back behind you, about a 90-degree angle on this leg that is back behind you, okay? So from here, what I want you to do is keep this foot to the knee, about 90-degree there, and there is a tendency for most people to lift up into this hip. So what I want you to do is I want you to just relax down, trying to ground down into your stretch here, dropping into the hip of the leg that is bent out to the side. I want you to just drop into that hip. We all have really different flexibility and mobility here. So if it's hard for you to get into this position, here's what I want you to do. I want you to rock towards this front leg and then rock back towards that back leg. And we're going to do that back and forth a couple times. Just rock forward and then rock back. Rock forward, trying to keep this knee down into the ground. Really working on that internal rotation on this back leg. Most people are pretty comfortable on the front leg, and most people find the hardest part of this to get those hips down in. So this is really going to help you to just release the pelvis so that you're a little bit more neutral in this position. Rocking forward and then settling back, bringing that hip down. Let's do one more. And relax. And then from here, I want you to just relax and just sit into it. If this is uncomfortable for you, this is a great stretch for you to be working on and practicing pretty much every single day. So from here, I want you to take a big inhale up. Exhale, take your hand down towards that outer leg, reach way up out of your waist, and I want you to come into an arch, leaning over towards that back leg. Really opening up and relaxing into it. I know this could be very uncomfortable for you. So as I said, just make sure that you're only coming into a stretch position here that actually feels good. If it's too much, if you're grimacing, if you're wincing, I want you to pull back a little bit. Big reach up. And relax. From here, let's just switch sides. So you're just going to switch them on over. Sole of the foot towards the knee. This foot is flexed, your outer foot is flexed, and you're going to bend at your 90 degrees at the knee. So you're going to see, you could probably already see how much more imbalanced I am because this leg, my internal rotation on this leg is so much tighter. And so that's exactly what it looks like if you're a little bit imbalanced, if you're not able to really sit nice and flat and get that hip down. It's helpful to observe how your hips are different. And if you find that this hip is tighter than the other hip, this is the one that you want to spend more time on. And that applies to all of the stretches that I'm going to take you through tonight. If you notice, oh, wow, that leg is a lot tighter than the other leg, you want to spend more time and more frequency with the flexibility on whatever body area, body part, or joint that's a little bit tighter. So we're going to rock back and forth, just moving towards that leg in front and then sitting back, trying to articulate that hip and trying to get your pelvis just dropped right back down in. The name of the game here is to try and be able to sit in this position where both of your knees are down and your hips are as level as possible and you don't have too much pressure on the feet or the knees. Not an easy task, I must tell you, but you'll get it. Just rocking back and forth. Rocking back and forth, really sitting deep into that hip, trying to get this hip grounded down into the ground so that that side of your glute is able to just really balance equally on the ground as if you were sitting perfectly equally here. Rolling back and forth, increasing that internal rotation on this back leg. And let's do one more. And relax and then just hold for that static stretch. Just relax and try to release this hip down into the ground. Now that we've gone through some more of an active range of motion, it might release and melt down a little bit more. And from here, take a big inhale up. Take your hand out to that leg. Big reach out of the waist and come into a side bend, working with whatever flexibility is going on this side. As I said, it's so normal, especially this is an intense and complicated stretch for a lot of people, depending on your mobility. If this is intense for you, this is a really great one to be working on a regular basis. And as I said, if you find that one side's a whole lot tighter, work it more, spend more time. But remember, you really should be able to relax into this, breathe into it. You don't want to be grimacing. You don't want to be uncomfortable, and you don't want that stretch to intensify. You want your stretch to just kind of relax and mellow out. Nice and easy. And release. So from here, come onto your hands and knees. And we're going to do some foot and ankle mobility exercises. If you've been in my community and you've joined me for any of my live workouts, you know I'm a huge fan of foot and toe exercises. So you're on your hands and knees, hands under your shoulders, knees under your hips, neutral back. If you want to have a little bit of a sway in your back, that's fine. I don't want you rounded out too much, but pretty much a neutral back. So notice that I've tucked my toes under. I want you to really tuck your toes under and bring some pressure onto the forefeet. Tuck those toes under, okay? So from here, I want you to just rock back sitting under your feet and then come forward. We're going to do this a few times because what I have found in all these years of working with people is that there's great variability in this range of motion. So for example, this is one of my most challenged range of motions. I've got very restricted toe flexion. And so you'll see I have a really hard time getting that toe flexion. And then I'll find some people that have super bendy feet. Regardless, this is super good for you. And what we're trying to do is push the weight back to really deepen the pressure and the flexibility on the feet, the toes, the arches, and the ankles. Okay. Now, if this is challenging for you, I want you to stay here. Otherwise, what I want you to do is I want you to sit back and then slowly bring your weight up and just sit a little bit more heavily onto your feet. And if that's doable, you can go ahead and sit all the way up onto your feet, really tucking those toes under, and just hang out here for a few deep breaths. If this is really uncomfortable for you, I'm going to take you into more of an active range of motion action to start to open up those feet. So if that's really uncomfortable for you, I want you to bring your feet a little bit closer. They should be about, let's call it about 1 inch to 2 inches away from each other, moving your heels towards each other as well. Okay. So from here, shift your weight back so that you're actually crouching on your feet. So you can see how I've got much less of an angle here at my feet, right? Perfectly comfortable. Then what you're going to do is you're going to come forward and you're going to bring your knees forward as if you're trying to tap your knees down on the ground and then crouch back. Forward to wherever you're able to go, that it's a wee bit uncomfortable on your toes. So if coming to here is excruciating on your toes, just stay here. All right. And if that's comfortable, you want to bring, I'm trying to make sure you guys can see my knees. You want to bring your knees all the way down to tap onto the ground. Okay. Knees tap onto the ground, really deepening that flexion at the toes and the arches and the ankles. So you can stop wherever it works for you, because if this is really uncomfortable, again, you don't want to muscle through this to here, but it is going to be a little bit uncomfortable until you get your toes and your feet opened up. As I said, everybody's got different range of motion here. And if this is easy for you, then you really should be fully sitting completely upright, smushing those feet down, really getting as much flexibility through the forefoot as possible. And the rest of us are going to continue rocking back and forth. A couple more times. If I haven't tortured you long enough, let's go 2 more. And 1 more. Okay, so we are going to do some stretches for the hip flexors, and then I'm going to take you into some really great front of the thigh quadricep stretches, which are super, super important for everybody. But first, the hip flexors. So from here, go ahead and point your toes in the back, and I want you to bring one knee forward so that you're in a staggered position here, but pretty comfortable. I'm going to demonstrate with my other leg for you guys first. So remember what I just talked about in this active isolated stretching. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that same philosophy, but we're going to stretch the hip flexor now. So a moment ago, we activated the hip flexor to stretch the glute. So now what we're going to do is we're going to activate the glute to stretch the hip flexor. We're flipping it around. And the way that happens is from this neutral position, I want you to squeeze your glute on that leg that's behind, move forward, squeezing that glute, and then relax back. Okay. Activate your glute. Come into a little bit of a lunge, deepened into a lunge, and then relax back. Do this with me a few times. If this is uncomfortable on your knee in the back, put something underneath your knee so that you're comfortable and not distracted by that. Just make sure that you're activating your glute by contracting it and then moving into the stretch. And you're going to notice that you start to get a better stretch in that hip flexor. And we're going to do this a few times. Contract the glute, move into the stretch, and relax. Contract the glute, move into the stretch, and relax. You'll notice each time you do it, you're able to get a little bit deeper, and you're also going to notice a different kind of activation on this front hamstring. So now that we already stretched out the hamstrings, they've got a better range of motion to be able to facilitate in this stretch. Okay, really activate that glute, then come into your stretch. Each repetition is probably going to be a little bit deeper. That's the goal. Let's do 2 more. 1 more. And relax. Same concept, different approach. Bring your hands down towards your feet. Now, if you're able to come into a flat palmed position, that's great. If you need to stay up on your fingertips or even come to a fist with straight wrists, that's cool. From here, I want you to tuck your back toe, and you're going to activate the glute on this back leg to extend your leg up and then relax it down. Activate this glute on the leg that's in back and relax it down. So now what we're doing is we're activating the glutes and the hamstrings to take you into an even deeper hip flexor stretch. So it's that active, isolated stretching again, activating the opposing muscle group so that we can deepen the stretch on the opposite muscle. So we're activating the glutes here so that we can get into a better stretch on that hip flexor, the front of the hip. And let's do 2 more. Really activate that glute on the back side right there and extend. 1 more. And relax. Push back to neutral. Take your time. Toes pointed. Switch legs. Other leg comes forward, and we're going to start first with squeezing the glute on that leg that's in the back and just coming into that deeper lunge. Squeeze the glute and stretch. This is probably one of my, hands down, my most favorite for hip flexors, because I think a lot of people report that they feel they have tight hip flexors, but it also seems like people really struggle with figuring out how to get their hip flexors more opened. Part of it is because personally, in my experience, static stretching on the hip flexors is rarely effective. And so when you start to involve the way the body works and contracting that opposite muscle group, it really just helps to get into that hip flexor a bit better. Squeeze the glute, then move into it. Squeeze that glute and move into it. Oh, so good. You're going to wake up tomorrow morning and feel like you've got a whole new bod. For those of you that are runners, this is an incredible range of motion exercise that's going to improve your performance. It's also great for recovery. Squeeze that glute. And let's do 1 more. Squeeze the glute and relax. Hands come down on either side of the feet, flat palms, fingertips, or wrists, fists, whatever feels right for you. Tuck that back toe. Activate the glute of the leg that's in back. Extend that knee and relax down. Extend the knee and relax down. Make sure that you're really conscientiously thinking about activating your glute on that back leg to come into that full extension. Extend, opening up. You'll also notice that if you're really able to tuck that back toe under, this also helps to improve that forefoot flexion of the back foot, getting some range of motion on the big toe, depending on what your foot mobility is like. I personally think foot mobility is so important. As we get older, feet tend to get rigid, and that is just not a happy place to be. So exercises like this really help. Opening up that hip flexor. Let's do 2 more. And 1 more. And relax. Okay, from here, back to neutral. And you're going to come down onto your stomach. We're going to move into some really great quad stretches. The front of your thighs. Again, these stretches are super helpful if you're a runner. So take notes. First, I want you to make sure that you're staying in a comfortable position with your upper body. The best way to get into it is to put your hands on top of each other and then put your forehead right onto your hands and stay in this position. Now, this tends to mess up my audio, so while I'd like you to stay in this position, I'm going to be lifting my chin just so that you can hear me a little bit better and so I can demonstrate. But you really do want to keep your head in alignment, and you also want your head to be relaxed. So go ahead and just find a comfortable position here, letting your forehead relax on your hands. And then you can listen to me or look up to look at the screen, but I'm going to try and walk you through this verbally. So take your left leg, and I want you to bring it up towards your butt, okay? And then relax it back down, out straight. Let's do that again. Pull your heel to your butt and relax back to a straight leg. And repeat. Pull your heel to your butt and relax out. This is the exact opposite that what we started with. So we started with extending the leg and activating the quadricep to stretch the hamstring. So now what we're doing is we're going to be doing the opposite. We're contracting the hamstring here to stretch the quadricep. Follow? So now what you're going to do is you're working with your left leg. So I want you to bring your left hand back behind. You're going to pull your heel into your butt, grab your heel and deepen that stretch, and then relax out. Pull the heel to the butt, use your hand to deepen that stretch, and relax it out. And repeat, heel to butt to activate that hamstring, deepen the stretch. And again, you want to keep your forehead down onto your hand so that your head stays in alignment. activating the hamstring, pulling that heel to your butt, and then just using your hand to deepen the stretch. Again, if you have to use the strap, you can wrap a strap around your ankle and then just grab it and pull in. You can also, if this is tight for you flexibility-wise, you can also just grab a pant leg or your sock, anything to help come into this. And if you also just have to do it without using your hands, you're still getting a really good quadricep stretch. And I'm going to give you a different variation of this if this is too hard for you. But I really love this variation because it keeps your hips in a locked position. So let's do one more. And relax it out. And we're going to switch sides, okay? So switch sides with your hands so that your forehead is relaxed onto your arm. And now you've got your right leg. Pull that heel to butt and relax it out. We're going to do this 5 or 6 times before we deepen the stretch. Heel to butt, and that's activating the hamstring, which is the back of your thigh, so that we naturally and technically chemically release and relax the quadricep, which is on the front of your thigh. So I said, those of you guys that are runners, or if you have any knee issues, this stretch is your best friend. Okay, take that right hand back around, catch your heel, deepen the stretch, and relax it out. Heel to butt, hand deepens the stretch, and relax. Heel to butt, hand deepens. You can grab your foot either at your forefoot or toes if you want. If you're able to grab around your ankle and flex your foot, all of the above are valuable. Whatever feels the most productive for you, because everybody's a little bit different here. You just really want to make sure that you're pulling that heel to your butt, and then your hand, oh, is that so good? Your legs are going to feel amazing. Like I said, if you're struggling with this because of flexibility, I'm going to give you a variation next. And let's do one more. Beautiful. And relax. So from here, I want you to just roll onto your side. And I'm going to show you this very similar, basically the same exact stretch from a different position. So you want to stretch your arm out and let your head rest on your arm as opposed to hanging out here. If you're here for a moment or two, that's fine, but you really do pretty much want to stay with your neck in alignment and your head supported on your arm. So from here, take a look down, make sure that your hips are stacked on top of each other. You're not rolling forward, you're not rolling back. Bottom leg is bent slightly. That's going to give you some stability. Top leg, stretch it out. Make sure you've got some space behind you. Hopefully I have enough space. And you're going to pull your heel to your butt and relax it out. When you relax it out, you want to keep this leg parallel to the ground. Don't let it drop down. Keep that leg parallel to the ground, heel to butt, and relax. Heel to butt and relax. So this is exactly what we were doing when you were laying on your tummy. But now the knee and the hip are able to have a different positionality. So this can actually make the exercise a bit easier. So now you use that hand to grab and pull and then release. Grab and pull and release. First, really pull that heel to your butt and then use your hand to deepen the stretch. So if you're tight on the stretch, you can see how it's a little bit easier to get into it because you can move this knee around in space to be able to grab your foot or your ankle. You can use a little bit of momentum, pulling that heel up to your butt, totally fine. Like I said, one other way to do it is to tighten a strap around your forefoot and then just catch the strap here and pull it up. You can do that too. And let's do 2 more. Quads are going to be feeling so good. And one more. We're going to do the same thing on that other leg. And relax. So from here, just push up and come on over to the other side. Extend your arm out so it's nice and comfortable. Knees are bent. Make sure your hips are stacked on top of each other here. And let's take that leg out. And then just pull the heel up to the butt. We're going to go through this a few times before we deepen that stretch. Make sure you're really pulling that heel in to activate that hamstring. If your hamstring really grabs and borderline kind of spasms, you can just release this contraction a little bit. It doesn't have to be a big contraction here. Just imagine that you're trying to pull your heel to your butt so that that hamstring activates and shortens. Take your hand around and let's deepen that stretch. Grab that heel or ankle wherever you are. Again, as I said before earlier, you might notice that this side's a whole lot tighter than the other side, or vice versa. That's really great feedback. Make a mental note of it. Oh, my right quadricep is a lot tighter than my left, and I want you to put more love, more time, and more energy into any body area, joint or muscle that has less mobility, is tighter, or just doesn't feel as balanced. That's how you start to get your body back into balance. Listen, the human body is very much out of balance and asymmetric for pretty much every single person. And so a stretching routine like this to get your body back into balance really helps to, as I said, improve recovery, but also reduce your risk of injuries. Asymmetries, having one hip move differently than the other hip, is the number one risk factor for injuries. And so it's really important to pay attention and be like, okay, this leg is tighter, stretch it more, spend more time working on it. And relax. Knees together, come on up, and I want you to come to a seated position. How you doing? You doing good? Okay, so at this point, you should be feeling pretty good. Now, we've got to get into some external hip rotation. And these are always, this is always the area that's really, really hard for people because there's such variability in terms of flexibility here. And it's also a little bit harder to bring an AIS, active isolated stretching approach to it. So we're going to actually do something a little bit different today, which is more of what we call a PNF, propioneuromuscular facilitation type stretch here. So what I'm going to have you do is come into this position where the soles of your feet are together. Your feet do not have to be super close to your hips. This should be somewhat comfortable. And if this is tight for you, just move your feet away from you a little bit farther, okay? You should be able to kind of feel a little bit of a stretch here. Now, if your knees are all the way down onto the ground here, you're super mobile and you're going to want to just release your knees out. You might even be happy coming into a forward bend because you're super flexible. For those of us that aren't quite as flexible, where your knees are a few inches off the ground, here's what we're going to do. Bring your hands to your feet. And what I want you to do is keep your feet together. But what you're going to do is imagine you're trying to move your knees down to the ground and then relax. Okay? You're trying to, with your hips up here, you're trying to press your knees down to the ground, and then you're going to relax. And we're going to do this 5 or 6 times. Press your knees down and then relax. Okay? Press your knees down. And the way that you press your knees down is by contracting and activating your external hip muscles here, which is technically your glutes. Okay? You're activating your glutes as opposed to just leaning forward into it. I want you to really press your knees down and then relax. Press your knees down and then relax. So here what we're doing is we're actually activating the same muscle that we're stretching. So you're activating your external hip rotators and then we're moving into a stretch. Let's do one more. Press them down and relax. And now we're just going to move into a traditional, good old static stretch. So I want you to just relax. Bring your hands in front of you if that's comfortable. And I want you to take a deep inhale and exhale and just kind of melt forward in space until you feel a stretch in your hips, or until you feel a stretch anywhere, honestly, but until it starts to get intensified. Now, remember what I said at the top of the session. When we're doing a static stretch, which this is, you really should feel like you're able to melt into the stretch. It should feel like your muscle releases and gives way so that you can naturally move deeper into the range of motion and the stretch. That's a very different psychology than pushing yourself into the stretch. Follow me? No pushing, no grimacing, no pain. I want you to use your breath. Exhale. And let your body release, bringing you into a deeper stretch. You can bring your chin forward. You can let your head hang if you want. There is a rule in stretching, especially when it comes to static stretching like this. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, let yourself fall a little bit more deeply. If you're happier to move your hands in a different position, that is fine. Place your hands wherever you feel you can release the most. And I want you to take another deep inhale. Exhale and continue releasing into it. The name of the game here is to let your body lead you and deepen you into the stretch. And as we spend more time here, it should mellow out and it should feel good. If you notice that your stretch is intensifying as you deepen it, I want you to pull back a little bit, take a couple breaths, and just let yourself release into it. When it comes to static stretching like this, you want to work with your breath and you want to allow your body to let you release into the stretch deeper. And then it's actually pretty important to spend about 30 to 90 seconds just releasing into this in order to really change the muscle and improve the flexibility. When it comes to static stretching, you really got to hang out for a while. And you got to hang out in a method where you're able to just fully release into this. Let's take one more deep inhale. Exhale it out. There's a rule in stretching that says wherever you feel the stretch is where you need it. So if you feel this stretch in your back, that's where you need it. If you feel this stretch in your knees, that's where you need it. If you feel it in your inner thighs, that's where you need it. But ultimately, we're heading towards those external hip rotators. And eventually you want to feel this 100% in your hips. And come on up. All right. I'm going to introduce you to one of my absolute favorite exercises, but I'm going to warn you, this one can be a bit uncomfortable. If you have tight hips, this is not for the faint of heart. Please hang with me. Please listen up because I'm going to walk you through it. If you can practice this next step and you're able to be patient and listen to your body, it is a major game changer, especially if you have knee issues or if you are a runner or a cyclist or any kind of a repetitive athlete. This is one of the most important stretches that almost no one does because it's complicated, it's uncomfortable, and it can be intense. Now, you might have super flexible hips. That's awesome. I'm wishing that for you, in which case I want you to go very deeply into this next stretch as it feels good for your body. But most of us are going to need some hand holding. So here is how it goes. You're going to take one leg in front of you, and ideally you want to try and get this shin so that you're forming a true triangle from your hips. So it's about a 30-degree angle at the knee, okay? And you're forming a true proper triangle from your hips to that leg. So from here, you want to flex this foot and try to relax that foot and that knee down to the ground. As you can see, I can't even do it. And I will tell you, this is literally probably my tightest stretch in my entire body. This is the stretch that I have to work on a very regular basis. My fire has really mellowed out here. Okay, so you're going to relax that knee down. Then you're going to take the opposite foot, keep it flexed, and you're going to bring it over to the knee. This is what it looks like for most people as we get started. Okay, if you're here, this is where I am. Welcome to the club. I'm going to walk you through it. Now, if you're here and this is uncomfortable, I literally want you to just hang out here and breathe and breathe and breathe and breathe and breathe. This is a static stretch. I want you to notice where you're feeling something. And I want you to just breathe and talk to that body area, let it mellow out, and just breathe into it. What's going to happen? Keep both of your feet flexed, pretty important. You want your ankle over this knee, and then eventually as you deepen into this stretch, I will try and demonstrate, but really I am super tight, but as you deepen into this stretch, this knee is going to relax down towards this ankle, and you would have ankle to knee, ankle to knee. This is called double pigeon from yoga, and it's a super, super intense stretch, but it really, really will change your life. Now, remember what I said before. If you're here and this is uncomfortable, you got to hang out here and you got to breathe into it because I don't want you wincing. I don't want you to be restrictive. I want you to relax into it. You should melt and release into the stretch. And if you just have to hang out here for 3 or 4 minutes and breathe, that's progress. Over time, what's going to happen, and eventually what you want to do is just kind of reposition your hips. Breathe into it. And what happens is eventually, this knee is just going to start to drop and drop and drop and drop until you're able to get into a bit more of a flattened stretch. And if that's you, please stretch your arms out over you and come into a forward bend. I know about 1 in 10 people are able to go right into this stretch. Go for it because it's such a valuable stretch. And for the rest of us, you're just going to stay and breathe and release. It's intense. I know. I know. I feel it in both of my hips, but in particular, I feel it on the hip of the knee that's up in the air, the top leg. I feel it in that hip the most, and it's very intense for me. But if you can breathe into this, we're going to take a couple deep breaths. And I want you to conscientiously choose to release and relax and tell that body area to mellow out wherever you feel this the most. Try to keep both of your feet flexed as much as you can. And if it's just too uncomfortable, you're going to pull back to that original position where you're kind of leaning out of it. Okay. I usually spend about 5 to 7 minutes on each side in this stretch. And if I can do that on a regular basis, it's really such a big game changer for the legs, the hips, and the back. Okay, are you tortured enough? Let's switch sides. So just come on and creep out of that. Kind of creep out of that. Oof. Stretch those legs out in front. Just give them a moment and let them undo and just rock side to side. Just stretching out those legs, maybe bending and straightening through your knees, and just relax. Now you want to remember which leg was on the bottom and which leg was on the top, which leg was tighter, okay? And we're going to do the same on the other side. So other leg comes down. And remember, you want to basically be forming a triangle here, as if my ankle was to this knee and the knee was to this ankle, and I could get into that perfect triangle. That's the angle of this leg here. If you're on an exercise mat, your lower leg is parallel to the edge of your exercise mat. Okay? Keep that foot flexed. Try to relax this knee down to the ground. Roll away from it and bring that. Oh, this is my tight side. Oh, mama. Oh, that's tight. Okay, so this is where I start. This is my starting position. This is how restricted my hips are. And like I said, this is embarrassing. This is my tightest stretch of all the stretches out there. So make sure that you are keeping this downward foot flexed. Keep this upper foot flexed. And now, if this is intense, I want you to just start to just breathe into it, relaxing and sitting into it, okay? Repositioning your feet and your legs as you need to, letting this knee come to the ground, but also trying to get relaxing and releasing this upper knee down towards this lower ankle. You can use your hands to kind of roll back and forth and articulate in and out of this, repositioning the feet, and use your breath. As I said, it's really important to use your breath. Let yourself mellow into it, not grimacing into it, just letting your body relax and release and melt. Letting this knee drop down. And as I said, if you are flexible here, I'm hallelujah, high five. I'm so proud of you because it's one of the best stretches to be flexible at. All you're going to do is reach your hands out in front of you and lay down over both of your legs, aiming for this ankle to be over the knee and this knee to be directly over the ankle so that you make that beautiful little triangle between your thighs and your lower legs. So just breathe into it. I know it's intense. Listen, this is intense stuff right here. I know. Gradually just working with those hips and releasing. And you can see how I've been able to mellow into the stretch a little bit, but I am still nowhere near where I need to be over here in getting that knee. I can't even force it there to release this knee down to the foot. If I work this for about a week, I'll eventually get there. But as you can tell, haven't been working on this stretch. And let's take one more deep inhale. Exhale it out. And come on and just creep out of it. Let those legs stretch out in front of you, rock side to side. And we're going to go into a forward fold static hamstring stretch. So from here, stretch those legs out. And I want you to just lift up and reposition your hips so that your pelvis is slightly rolled forward. Now, this is another one of those stretches that is really dependent on your flexibility, and I see great variability amongst people. So if your knees are bent, totally cool. Absolutely fine. If you need to bend your knees, bend your knees. If you need to use your hands on your near your hips, totally cool. If you're able to relax, I want you to try and flex your feet if you can. If you need to point your toes, that's okay, but I eventually want you to really work on getting those knees opened and your toes pulling towards you. There's a couple of different ways you can relax into this stretch. And in my opinion, there's no wrong way. You're going to hear people tell you to keep a flat back. Then you're going to hear people tell you to round your back. You're going to hear people tell you to lock your knees, bend your knees. Here's the deal. A forward fold can be accomplished many different ways. My approach is this. Take a deep inhale up. Exhale it out. Let your hands come to your legs wherever they land. If you feel a stretch, stay here. If you feel a stretch anywhere, stay here and breathe. And if this is comfortable, you're going to just move more deeply into this stretch in the manner that feels right for your body. If your back is tight, you're probably going to round it out and get a bit more of a stretch in your back. If your hamstrings are more flexible, you might be able to keep more of a straight back. There is huge variability in the length of the hamstring in people. So depending on your limb lengths, it's possible that your hamstring is actually already in an overstretched position, and therefore you're going to be tight in this stretch. And so the idea of like having to keep a flat back and coming into the stretch might not be productive for your body. Also, coming to a rounded back might not be productive for your body. What I want you to do is just move forward, assess and notice what you feel, use your breath to breathe into what you feel, and with each exhale, just release and relax and just melt a little bit deeper, whatever that looks like for your body. It is a good idea to try to pull your toes back towards you to some degree. But if you need to practice this with pointed toes to get into your flexibility, that's fine. Eventually, just try to keep the feet flexed. Hands can be on the ground, they can be on your legs. And like I said, if you're up here and this is tight for you, I want you to just stay here and breathe and relax and breathe and relax, because I've seen people who can lay all the way out and wrap their hands, people who can have flat backs, rounded backs, and everything in between. And in my opinion, there isn't really a wrong way to do it except for overstretching and wincing and being in pain, because then you're going to pull a muscle. So nice and relaxed. Let's take a couple more deep breaths wherever you are. I want you to exhale and just fall into it a bit more deeply. If you want to let your forehead drop down towards your legs, great. If it feels better for you to keep a straight back and reach forward with your chest, you can do that too. What feels right for your body today and right now? That is all that matters. What feels right for your body today and right now? Oh, that's so good right there. And just relax into it. Again, this is a static stretch, which means we need to spend 30 to 90 seconds at a minimum really releasing into it. And again, just noticing, where do you feel the stretch? Do you feel it in your back? Do you feel it in your lower back, your upper back? Do you feel it at your tailbone? Do you feel it in your hamstrings? Where do you feel it? Just notice and become aware of it so that you can work on it over time. And let's slowly begin to creep out of it, okay? The more intense the stretch, the more you want to creep out of it. And then what I want you to do is actually no. Okay, bud, you're gonna come over here. Good boy. So from here, come on, bud. Good boy. They have a mind of their own. Oh, here he comes, right back, laying right in front of the camera. There we go. Good boy. Okay, so from here, I'm actually going to turn toward camera so you'll be able to understand me a little bit better. Here we go. Feet are flexing out, okay? And I want you to take a big inhale up. Nope. And you're going to bring one knee so that your knee is bent, so that your foot is right by your knee. Sole of the foot, arch of the foot, right by your knee. Hey, bud, come over here. Over here. Nope. Over there, bud. Nope. Over there. Good boy. Over there. There we go. Okay, so here we are. So arch of the foot at the knee, reach way up out of your waist, And then I want you to just naturally come forward just like we did a moment ago, but now we're putting those two stretches together. So you've got that hip external rotation and you've got this forward flexion on that hamstring. So of the leg that's bent, left leg, if you're mirroring me, left leg is bent, you're going to take that arm and reach it very far forward and just hold for that stretch. So bring that shoulder forward more as per the leg that's bent. Leg that's bent, that arm really reaches out. You can bring it to the floor, but I want you to really pull that shoulder forward and just breathe and release. Again, just like I said before, if you're here and this is where you have to hold this stretch, that is okay. If it feels good for you to straighten your back, fine. If it feels better for you to round your back, fine. The whole point is just to get the collective stretch from your heel all the way out through your head, and wherever you're tight is where you're tight, and that's going to dictate what feels most productive for you in the stretch. Take a deep inhale. Again, we're going to work passively here so that you're releasing into it, really relaxing into it. And let's take one more deep inhale. Exhale, a little bit deeper. And relax and come up. Let's just switch legs. Extend one leg out, opposite heel to the, arch to the knee. Inhale up. Exhale, folding forward wherever it feels good on this side. Spend a moment or two, a breath or two here. Exhale. Oh, that's good. Then the leg that's bent, take that same arm and reach it way away from you and just lengthen out that side. And breathing deeper, using your breath to facilitate the stretch, releasing a little bit more, releasing down in, no grimacing, no restriction. Remember, the longer you hold the stretch, the better it should feel, the more you should melt into it. And if the stretch is intensifying, the longer you hold it, you just need to pull out a little bit, okay? So you find the angle where you're able to release into it and deepen as time goes on. 30 to 90 seconds is what's really going to help improve the flexibility of all the muscles that are involved here. And release, couple more stretches. So from here, I want you to just very gently separate your feet. Now start conservative. Okay, you overachievers, I don't want you opening your legs out super, super far just yet. Start conservative so that in this position, you feel a little bit of something. Just a little bit of something, okay? Take a big inhale up, exhale, and I want you to bring your hands forward wherever they land. Pull your toes towards you. Keep your chest lifted a little here and assess how the stretch feels. If this is comfortable, you're going to take a deep inhale. You're going to exhale, and you're just going to fall forward a little bit more. Take a deep inhale. Exhale. If this is comfortable for you, you're going to walk yourself out of it. Place your hands behind you and just shift your hips forward, coming into a slightly greater angle, and repeat the sequence. Deep inhale. Exhale. Just walk forward a little bit, not rounding too much on this stretch. Deep inhale. How does that feel? Exhale, keeping your feet flexed, okay? And you stop wherever it starts to feel too intense. If this is good and comfortable for you, one more breath, one more stretch forward. Really trying to release and relax. And again, if this is comfortable, you're going to walk out of it, hands back behind, come into a deeper stretch, okay? Inhale, exhale, and walk forward. So as you can see, I'm quite flexible here, but extremely unflexible in that last two exercises ago, that hip mobility, external rotation. And that's how flexibility goes. You will notice that you're really good at some stretches, but then some stretches you're really, really tight. Welcome to the human condition. That's just how it is for all of us. That's just how it is. In the 30 years that I've been coaching people, I really noticed that some people are super flexible in some movement patterns, and then in others, they are disastrously inflexible. And that's just how it is. So you want to be aware of the stretches that you're good at, keep them good, but spend more time on the exercises that are a bit more restricted. So wherever you are here, exhale and just release into it a little bit more if you can. Word of caution, this exercise has quite a high risk of pulling a hamstring, so please do not overexert yourself on the stretch more than any of the others, okay? You really, really want to listen in. Your stretch has to be mellowing out the longer we hold it. If it's intensifying, the longer you hold it, you got to pull back a little bit, okay? Remember, stretching should feel good. It should be comfortable. It should make you feel great. It shouldn't be painful. It shouldn't cause you to wince or hold or restrict or hold your breath. It should be fluid and melting and really, really comfortable, supportive, and nurturing. One more deep inhale. Exhale it out. And let's walk it back and just come to a comfortable position, whatever that means for you. If you want to sit cross-legged, whatever is comfortable. And I just want to take you through a couple of upper body shoulder stretches before we wrap up. So let's take a deep inhale up. Exhale it out and do that one more time. Let's inhale up, but you're going to keep your arms up over your head. Interlock your fingers. Exhale, bring your hands behind your head, and I want you to press your shoulder blades back. Squeeze your shoulder blades towards each other. Lift your chest, lift your chin, press your elbows back. Now, the key here is that you're thinking about drawing your shoulder blades towards each other. Pinch your shoulder blades back towards each other so that your chest pops forward. Chin is lifted, chest is lifted and projecting upward and outward as your shoulder blades drop down in space. Great stretch for the triceps, the chest, and the shoulders. Now, shoulders are tricky to stretch. Shoulders are very hard to stretch without a wall or without some kind of an apparatus. Relax. One of my favorite stretches, take your hand down, turn your palm so that it's rotated back away from you. And then from here, what I want you to do with this shoulder, I want you to roll this shoulder back, rotate this chest forward, and just open your hand away from you. Okay? It's important that you're pushing this hand down into the floor and that you're rotating this chest and bringing the shoulder back as if you're just trying to sweep back around in an open position. Keep this arm active, open away, and you're going to get a little bit of a stretch through the bicep and the shoulder. And then I've got one more shoulder stretch for you after this. Really opening it out. And then relax it down. Same on the other side. So fingertips away, rotate your fingers back, extend your arm. I know I'm able to really hyperextend my elbow. You do want your elbow extended. You don't have to hyperextend like I do, but keep that elbow really extended and open so that you're pushing down on the floor so that that arm is active. Roll the shoulder blade back, rotate that shoulder forward to really open this shoulder, and then just circle away from you here. Keep this arm very active, pushing down into the ground. You'll feel the stretch in that bicep. And you really want to rotate this chest forward and that shoulder back to open up that shoulder. And relax. I got one more stretch for you right before we finish. So you're going to bring your arms straight across your body. Make sure that you're keeping the shoulder down. There's a tendency to pull the shoulder up and to come into the stretch. So from here, I want you to drop your shoulder down, bring the arm right across your chest line, and then pull this arm in and across your body, making sure that this shoulder drops down and it's not up here. Press that shoulder down, pull this arm across, and as you are pulling in with this hand, press out with this arm. Keep it very active. Biggest mistake most people make is they let the shoulder come up, okay? You just place it right across the top of your breast line and then press down into that shoulder and pull straight across here. going to stretch through the back of the shoulder. And relax. Same thing on the other side. So bring it across, shoulder down. Make sure you're not up here. Shoulder down, straight across the upper chest. Use that arm to really pull. Use your hand to pull your arm into your chest. Active, pressing this hand out, keeping the shoulder down. It's a great stretch if you go through these steps, but if you're up in here, I see people up in here doing this all the time, and it's just not really effective. You've got to have this downward depression at the shoulder. This hand is pulling in, and this hand is pressing away. And just breathe into it and relax. Let's take one last deep inhale. Thank you so much for joining me for this stretch session. I hope you enjoyed it. Please share your thoughts. Okay, guys, talk to me.